Hello and welcome to Newsbreak at 7. I'm Veeder Raghav and we're coming to you live from Bengaluru. The top focus this evening is an issue that revolves around arguably some of the finest minds or most brilliant minds in India. Should it be a matter of concern that an increasing number of IIT graduates are choosing career paths that are far removed from the fields of study they have in the IITs? Is it a waste of national resources, as some have argued, or is it something that needs to be taken as par for the course? A recent study by researchers at the Center for Policy Studies at IIT Mumbai had found that more than 60% of IIT Mumbai graduates pursued career options unrelated to their fields of study. Expressing concern over such a trend, a few days ago, IIT Madras director V. Kamakoti told the New Indian Express that he was deeply concerned over engineering students pursuing non-career jobs. However, there are multiple points of view on this matter, and IIT Mumbai director, who will join us in a bit, has defended the choice of alternate non-engineering career paths on this issue. Well, we have three prominent IITians who represent a cross-section of people who come out of the IITs joining us this evening, starting with Professor Subhashish Chowdhury, director of IIT Mumbai. As I mentioned, his views on this matter was clear. He had in an interview said that it is misplaced to sort of raise an alarm over this issue. We have M. Ashwin, professor IIT Madras and also an alumnus of IIT Madras. He is joining us more in his capacity as an alumnus of IIT Madras this evening. Shekhar Prabhakar, a prominent Bengalurian and alumnus of IIT Madras as well, who is the CEO of the widely respected Hasiru Dalla Innovations in Bengaluru city. Thank you three for joining us. First to you, Professor Subhashish. How would you respond to those who say that this is not a small number when you have so many of the IIT graduates choosing non-engineering career paths, that it's a waste of national resource? How would you respond to them?
Well, let me say that, it depends on what you mean by, choosing a career path, which is different from what you are trained for. Now, the question is, what are we training our students, right? See, any good educational institute should be, be ready to do a good foundational setting for its students. Now, what you build on the top of the foundation is the responsibility of the students. And if you say that, we are saying engineering STEM education center, but our thing is that give them a real in-depth training in terms of thinking something new, doing good analytical studies, something to comprehend beyond normally what people do, be creative, be innovative. And then the sky is the limit. You do whatever it is. Finally, remember that in any academic scenario, our students are here for maybe 4 years, 5 years, 2 years, depending on what program they do. But they have to keep serving in their career profession for next 30, 40 years. So what we say that, immediately you go and join a job, maybe in a mechanical or in civil or electrical. It doesn't make sense because it's an individual. He has his own aspects. He has his own dream. And that's what he should pursue, because then the best comes out of that students, right? I think that's what is I would start the discussion, and I'm sure that some of the people may not agree with me, but I think I'm quite sure that I'm confident that the kind of, the education that I provide at IITs, all IITs and IIScs and many other good places, this creates a set of manpower which actually provides a kind of a launching pad for providing a leadership role in creating new jobs, creating wealth for the nation. And all of these are very important. Remember, we have to take so many people, 1.4 billion people to, to the top. And many of them are actually doing a wonderful job in taking up this responsibility. But remember, when I say that, I don't mean to say that should not also be doing, core engineering work. And many of them are also doing that. If that's their passion, sure, that's what they should do.
Correct. That's a fair point that you make, and I don't think anyone can question about the level of achievement that IITians produce or the kind of training that they do. But what about a statement of intent? Some would argue that there needs to be a categorical statement of intent assessment when a student comes into an IIT, given that there is enormous amount of subsidized, high-quality technical education that's provided. Not because of just a trend, but because of the kind of numbers that we're seeing when you have so many of them migrating to non-engineering fields. Would that be a matter of concern?
No, I don't think it's a concern at all. See, look at what these people have done. They create jobs. They create the soft floor, the very soft floor, where you want actually our product to go in, the engineering. So if they're providing a kind of an umbrella under which, you can accommodate a large number of core engineering people, irrespective of where they are. Where is the problem? See, you want them to be one of the just engineers. You go to the shop floor, do your work, okay, and you are one man or one woman, you work for that, and at the rest of the life, you don't create any additional opportunity for your peers, right? You're working for a company, which is very good, definitely. But you are now creating opportunities, not for just yourself, but many other people. And that's have to be looked at. Can you do like an impact analysis of what these people have done by moving out of that? That's what makes it more impact. So I think that's what you should be looking at.
You're saying look at impact, don't just look at where that impact is made. It's a large social impact that's going through. Ashwin, as a student of IIT Madras who passed out, what do you see the difference between now and then? Is there a difference in the trend that you see between now and then? And do you really believe also that it shouldn't be a matter of concern what kind of careers are being chosen by IIT graduates?
Yeah, thanks, Veer Raghav. First of all, even though I'm a faculty at IIT, I'm here as an alumnus. So my views are not the views of the institute or any of the institutes. They're just sort of mine. Your first question was on, do I actually see a change in trends? And in some sense, yes, because in those days, a lot of my classmates actually shifted out of their core engineering jobs more into the IT sector. Today, it's probably finance, analytics, management, consulting. So there is a change. But fundamentally, the fact that people don't necessarily continue on their core pathways is not something that's really changed over time. But I would agree with Professor Subhas that this is not really something that's a big cause for concern. And let me add a couple of points onto what he said. See, one of the things we've got to understand is that the world is becoming more and more interdisciplinary. Right? It is becoming more and more difficult to define exactly what a mechanical engineer is or a civil engineer is. So next week, for instance, IIT Madras is hosting a very prestigious international conference on construction. And one of the panels is on the impact of AI, 5G, and quantum computing on the construction industry. Now, if I had a student with a civil engineering background who then went and specialized in quantum computing or 5G, and was able to come back and do something for the construction industry, which is now the case because we need these kinds of experts, then I'm not sure that I would necessarily consider that as a bad thing, that the student actually went outside his or her core expertise. In my own case, in my PhD, most of my committee was sociologists because I realized that human factors play a larger role in ensuring that civil engineering projects get built on time and on budget rather than technical factors. And I felt the need to move away from core civil engineering to something like this, to more of the social sciences. And I teach a lot of that now in my courses at IIT. So I think we have to rethink what we mean by the core discipline. And if a student goes on to a finance job, but then works for the World Bank and then helps fund infrastructure in developing countries, partly because they also have a background in core engineering, I think that's something that we need to sort of embrace and celebrate. So I agree that with Professor Subhas that we're providing them a platform. We're sharpening the students. So that was what I felt was done to me when I was here. Students don't necessarily have all the choices in the world when they come in, because the way our system works, some of them end up in branches that may not be their first choice. And as long as they are productive citizens to the country and to humanity, which largely seems to be the case in terms of the number of jobs they create, the positions of influence that they hold, the impact that they have in all walks of life, I think we should actually embrace the fact that people are being productive in the workforce and not really bemoan this, the nature of the problem where they aren't necessarily pursuing a very narrow definition of what we might consider a core engineering field.
May I add one comment here? I mean,
fair point that you make. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I'll give you an example. See, we have had some, like graduates who studied electrical engineering or physics, and later on in their life, they did extremely well, or maybe even chemical engineering, did extremely well in biology. Do you know that? Now, what do you call it? They become so, they did wonderfully well. Now, if you say that this is not good, I mean, what is the thing that we should be doing? I mean, they should be studying only physics if they're physicists, or the electrical engineer. I think I completely agree with this. The world is, every discipline reads so much of additional thing. And it's basically an opportunity that for people to collaborate together, do something new. And that's what pays up in the long run. I'll stop here,
Right. So, no, I have a counterpoint to that. But before I get that, I want to get Shekhar in. Shekhar, given the kind of work that you're doing, which is enormously socially transformative in the grassroots of Bengaluru, whether it is garbage collection, whether it is other innovations that your organization does, do you feel that the education in IIT at the end of the day was a waste of time for you, or do you believe that that was all part of the path that you sort of treaded till you got here? I mean, the kind of subsidies that you perhaps got at your times for your mechanical engineering at IIT Madras, was that a waste?
No, I don't think it was a waste at all because, as one of them said, the foundation that the IITs gave us. I mean, firstly, remember, we were all 16 years old when we got there. We really didn't know what we need, what we wanted, what was our passion, and so on. So that is a discovery process in itself. But what the IITs gave us was a strong foundation of critical, analytical, and scientific thinking, which I feel I have brought to every job that I have done. And as the director said, you have to measure what all the IITians have done in terms of impact, whether it is in terms of creating jobs, innovating in new fields, patents that they have done. So the relationship, whether it was with the core or not, is beyond a point not to be even discussed, in my opinion. Have they all become productive, valuable, impactful leaders? And I think a significant part of people who have graduated from IIT have done that. So, and as you said, I didn't know anything about waste management sector, but have I used my engineering skills? Have I used my analytical skills to innovate in this sector? I have, to the betterment of waste pickers, to the betterment of the city. So, I think it is a moot question. I mean, beyond a point.
Right. A fair point that you make. All three of you seem to suggest clearly that, look, don't care about which sector the impact is being made. Let's look at the impact that's being made overall, and that's for social good. But Professor Subhashis, my final question to you then would be, what about the areas where you really need the IITians to make an impact, which is, I'm not saying that in the other areas they're not needed, but what about core areas where, for instance, where there is advanced engineering or fields like that? Are we seeing then enough of them going there? Again, should there be a statement of intent or a test of their intent when somebody comes into an IIT? My final question to you, sir.
So I think Rasheen said very correctly, something that I'll take it from there, that let's say for us, when you talk about mechanical engineering, now we are talking about advanced manufacturing. Now it is very, very sophisticated. The workshop that we had earlier, this is shrunk on a tabletop, right? And we are training our people to do that, okay? And it needs a lot of other additional skill. So you see that what is required. You talked just now about that, waste collection and others, the waste management. I, as an expert in electrical engineering, my graduation, but right now, with a colleague of mine, we are looking at automated ways of garbage separation. Now, now you may say that, is that electrical engineering? So that means finally, it's our corporation, local corporation, or the system, they would benefit. We are trying to find out. So use this. What is core is never defined. So we have this notion that something is core. But remember that, when you look at, keep on peeling up, all your external things, and what remains, that's our definition of core. But I tell you, it's so interdisciplinary. You will find that there is no specific definition of what is core. Finally, each our graduate, and not only that, it should be similar for graduates of all other universities, right? They should be, competent people having a good depth of understanding of engineering problem. Now, that's what it is. See, engineering problem, because we know the world is imperfect. And despite that, we have to come up with a solution. Now, that's the learning. That's the core learning. And if somebody does it, that's it.
Okay. I'm completely running out of time. I just want one very quick last word from both Ashwin as well as Shekhar. The amount of subsidy that's put into the high quality education, is there a recognition of the amount of subsidy and the amount of resources that are invested in this or when a student passes out, or is it seen more from an individual point of view? Very quick response, Ashwin and Shekhar.
Yeah, I think, that can be, the narrative on that can be a little bit stronger, but some students do understand that. And for instance, you'll see a large number of people who go into the public sector, for instance, partly because of that reason. So you could do more, but there is, I would say, some level of understanding.
Shekhar, quick last word.
Yeah, I think higher education like the IITs should have less and less subsidy for the actual education and more in terms of scholarships for the deserving. Because I think, like in the West, higher education needs to be paid for. Only then will people also actually get in with the right intent and right seriousness, and maybe not at the age of 16, maybe at the age of 20. I don't know. But I feel that subsidy should come down. I was a lucky one back in 79, 84 to have enjoyed the subsidy. But I think it's something that needs to go.
Right. Right. Thank you three for joining us. All three of you seem to be driving home that point that let's look at the impact that we've created, not look at which sector it's created. But there will be those who will argue and turn around and say, what about the investment that's made in that in terms of engineering? What's the output and whether this trend at such large numbers is healthy or not? Well, it's two sides to the story. We'll take a very short break on the show. When we come back, much more.